I remember very early memories, like being on a car on a motorway, and there was a man like praying on the hard shoulder, you know, by the side of the road. I asked my dad, I said, what's he doing? And he explained to me that, yeah, this is a Muslim, they pray like this. And I remember to this day that I had a very impact. It had quite a profound impact on me. I thought, wow, that's really, you know, something good. But religion for me was just that, you know, I had to wake up on a Sunday morning, no matter how late I'd gone to bed the night before, and it was just, you know, it was like I have to go for an hour every Sunday morning to make my parents happy. So by the stage I wouldn't say I didn't believe in a God or I did believe in a God. It just wasn't really thinking about it. I just wasn't really interested in the whole question or anything. So that was me up until I first sort of started to hear about Islam. I think when you look at Islam and you look at Christianity, there's many of the morals and values are shared between the two religions. Obviously there's difference when it comes down to fundamental beliefs on Tawheed, when it comes to the detail and depth of the Sharia, there's differences there. But on a lot of the general overall principles and morals, there's a lot of similarity. So alhamdulillah, I had the benefit of being able to grow up in a family who are practicing and believing Catholics. We're just going to do a conversation, yeah? We're just going to be talking a little bit. Like, you know, like how we used to do it, just purely in Arabic, okay? Just to go over some of the things that we've done. Fi, ala, min, ila. Fi, ala, min, ila.
I'm in Streatham in South London to meet with Christopher Mortimer, a British Muslim convert. He converted to Islam in 2003 at just 19 years of age. Christopher is one of the 100,000 Britons who have converted to Islam in the last 10 years. He first found out about Islam through his Muslim friends at school. Discussing Islam with these friends led to him questioning many aspects of his Christian faith.
And so I spent a lot of time in their house, in one particular friend's house, and I got to know his family very closely, and I got to see how they practiced, you know, without sort of like preaching. I mean, we did speak about religion, you know, backward. I think he was probably looking at the question of religion himself, because he was searching for Islam for like 6 years up until that point. And then finally in one lecture it just clicked into place. So I was listening to this sheikh giving a lecture, and it was all about, the topic was jihad al-nafs, and I remember very clearly. And he was talking about, you know, the battle between, you know, the higher purpose and the kind of lower desires, and in some detail. And it was at that moment I remember just sat there and I thought, you know, I think I suddenly realised, and I thought to myself, you know, I already know within myself that this is the truth. I've realised for many reasons that Islam is the truth. What other system can tell you this kind of truth, you know? I felt like that, you know, this information was talking to me personally, and yet this is teachings from the Quran and from the Prophet so long ago, you know. And it was at this time I said, you know, this is better than the system, than my belief in my system at the moment. I don't know of any other better system. So my mother, when I told her, became very upset, because she thought, you know, like she'd lost her son, you know, she didn't know what was going to happen. Was I going to become some kind of, you know, crazy person? She was very scared, you know. So she, you know, there was a lot of my mom crying and upset and all this kind of thing. My father he knew a bit about Islam. He wanted to discuss, so we spoke about it. When it all calmed down, it became a lot easier, so we were able to discuss more. And then probably what happened from there is, for about a year, we just didn't really talk about religion at all. So, but then after a time, it became easier. Like, you know, they say time is a healer. You know, it became easier on them.
First time I met him, I was actually doing some filming for Ahl Bayt TV, and I think I'd given him a lift. So we spoke maybe for like 10 minutes there and 10 minutes back in the car. I had mentioned so we have a mutual friend who's a convert, who's a lot older than both of us, that I'd like Chris.
I was at the gym one morning, and I got a call from a friend. He said, "Are you looking to get married?" And I said, "Possibly, you know, I'm not actively looking, but I'm not looking, you know." So he said, "I know someone who I think you'd be a really good match." So I knew who she was, but we didn't know each other. But I just knew, I had a brief conversation, knew who she was.
I think 2 months later, I got an email from Chris saying just one line: "My intentions are pure. Can we meet for coffee?" Which I liked, because it was to the point. It was, you know, pure intentions. And I asked my parents. And surprisingly, they said, yeah, that's okay. And that's it. And then we met. Obviously, the first time we met just in a coffee shop, the two of us.
So we met up, and then I came on the same day and I met her parents, and we really got on well, very, just very conversational. I really got on well with Safir and her parents.
I found out that we're both quite into sport, and like he's got a good sense of humour. All of these things, though, a lot of which I didn't know before we got married. So before we got engaged, it was just he had good manners, he was, well spoken, and was into Islam and practicing. That was the main three things.
So I travelled to Iran just a little while after becoming Muslim. And shortly after I got married, my wife and myself, we moved out to Syria for a year. The main reason was we wanted to study Arabic so we could understand some more of the Quran, some more of the works which has not been translated into English, just to get a better feeling for the dua and all this kind of thing. So we studied out in Syria for a year. We studied at the University of Damascus for a while, and we also, alhamdulillah, had some help from some of the houses who let us sit in their classes and put on some special programs for us. When I first say I become Muslim, they think, wow, like, that's really dedicated, or, there's this idea that why would you give up all of the freedom, you can do whatever you want, you had a good life, why would you give that up to join a religion which is so strict and which stops you from doing everything and which is so harsh? And I think especially many people who are born Muslim maybe feel this as well, like they say, they sometimes may find it strange that a person, would want to voluntarily give up all of their freedoms and become a Muslim, and so I think my answer to this is that really, like, since I've become Muslim, I feel like I've gained so much freedom. The reason being is that all of these kind of desires that you have, all of these things which you find, all these kind of like quick fix kind of things that are fun and that give you a lot of fun in the short term, like going out, partying and drinking and having girlfriends and doing all these kind of things that you just have freedom to do. Whilst these things give you like a very quick buzz or short-term fun, in the long term they really just hold you back. In the long term they kind of lessen you. They kind of make you feel like less as a person. They make your worth feel kind of lower. But when you live life, from my experience of living life as a Muslim, is that all of these practices in Islam, the salat, the rules around social etiquettes about who you can and who you shouldn't be mixed with, the rules about where you should and shouldn't go, all of these kind of things, even down to the personal hygiene and everything, I've just found that they're just so natural. They just seem to make, from someone I never had any of this in my life before, to taking this on and practicing as much as I can, I just find that it just feels like I was designed to live this life. It feels like if I was, if we say that there's a system being made for a creator as to how to live your life, this definitely feels like it, because it really, I really feel freed since I found this way. I feel like I was living my life in the wrong way before, and I didn't know it at the time until I actually found Islam. And then once I started to practice this, then I realised, now I can realise and I can look back at my life before and I can just see so many improvements. I can just see so many, just life has just got better and better and better ever since I became Muslim. I don't think I'd have a child by now if I hadn't become Muslim, because obviously this is something which is so highly recommended by the Prophet ﷺ, that's really what kind of motivated, and I think just in the community that's what makes it so normal for young people to get married. So alhamdulillah, now since becoming Muslim, obviously I've got married and now had little Yusuf has joined us. And I think, inshallah, his upbringing is going to be completely different to anything I would have thought before I became Muslim, because now, everything's focused towards, the tarbiyat, the raising of the child in the Islamic way. So trying to set example finger. And just to finish, actually, if you think about, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had no reason to create us at all, you know. It doesn't improve Allah, you know. Allah does not benefit from our creation, and Allah does not benefit from putting rules on us. It's not like a person who gains a sense of power on putting rules on people. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave these rules as a mercy, and Allah created us out of a mercy and gave us a perfect way to live as a mercy. And this is, since taking on Islam as my religion, this is really, I've become more and more convinced of this with every day, really.